What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 23 for My Team Career Mode Season 1, Round number 7, the Austrian Grand Prix, our second sprint race weekend of this game. So let's start off with, first of all, the issue that we had in Canada where we had a mechanical failure. It was actually the ICE, so the actual engine, it's the main parts of the engine itself, internal combustion engine, went kaput, so we're going to have to put a new one of those on the car. Definitely going to be having some penalties towards the end of the season, not just for the two parts we've broken so far, but also just generally for parts. Don't quite have the the durability at the moment, even though we actually like the top. We're actually at the top of durability for all the teams. We put a personnel upgrade on there for pace for the simulator, so hopefully that'll give Iwasa a bit more pace, because a couple of races time, I think it's after the British Grand Prix next time, we will have contract negotiations. And although I was initially thinking I'm probably not gonna bother even changing him out, even if he's not doing very well, I think I am actually going to consider it, because I've seen some quite interesting driver moves in other people's My Team videos. Looking at R&D here, we're still right there with Aston Martin. We've actually both kind of upgraded at the same amount of time, got a little bit closer to Mercedes and Ferrari from the last weekend. Red Bull pulled away a little bit there though, so yeah, it's all kind of very well balanced at the moment. And McLaren, and actually Haas, the next team after McLaren, edging closer towards us. And I feel like by the end of this season we're almost all going to just be one big group, which is going to be pretty crazy. So as we get into Q1 here for Austria, I was pretty excited about our prospects here, because we weren't great in Spain, but we ended up having a great strategy, worked out with the safety car and finished P2. In Canada, we got on the front row in qualifying, and then of course, just because of a mechanical failure, we didn't finish the race, but we were looking at a podium. I think we may have been in P4 by the time we DNF'd, as in Q1 we are looking pretty good. Iwasa also gets through in P15. That personnel upgrade I don't think has come through yet. It might have just come through, but I'm not quite sure, so we may not quite see the effects of that yet. But I just wanted to show you this here in Q2, because Iwasa ended up behind me, but he had already kind of done his outlap, so I give him a bit of a tow down this kind of secondary straight here from what I guess is turn 3 onwards. As we then go on to our lap though, he's finished his lap ahead and he absolutely blocks us going into turn 3. That is ridiculous. I mean, I literally gave him a tow. He's my own teammate, and yeah, he completely blocked us there. We did get a chance to do another lap, I believe. Because we're like 1.4 seconds up here, because on that quick lap that you just saw, I had to back off because he was sat right on the racing line, and he would actually end up, you'll see it in a second, getting penalised for that, for illegal blocking. So not good there, not looking good for him when like I said, contract negotiations coming up within the next couple of races, when he's going and blocking me in qualifying. That is not good. It ends up being okay for us anyway though. We do get through to Q3, P8, so not quite there on the pace we were in Q1, but that's fair enough. Iwasa's P11, so he's actually only just missed out on Q3, but he's got a five place grid penalty which will be for the race, not for the sprint. So yeah, he's actually got a good qualifying position here, but it's not really going to matter in the end. Getting into Q3, and it is now wet. It is very wet. So this is what, 3? No, this is 2 wet qualifyings in a row, because I'm pretty sure Austria was dry, Canada was wet, and it's wet here in Q3. And remember how in Canada, in the dry, our pace was good, but it was about where we expected to be. It was about what we expected. But in Q3, I mean, mainly because people around, well, pretty much everybody didn't do a second lap on the wet compound tyres, and we did, because the track was slightly better and we just found a bit of improvement. And that's how we got that great grid position to the front row. Well, I'm wondering, it looks like this time around they are going to do their laps, and I can't quite remember. This might actually be the first, I think this is my first push lap, because the rain just got worse after this. And even though I did actually, I think, try and go out later on, it was going to put me on full wet, so I didn't even bother going out again, because it wasn't going to be quicker no matter what on the full wets compared to the intermediates we're on now. We get a little bit of a snap of oversteer around the second to last corner, but we're on for a pretty decent lap here. Green first sector, green second sector. We actually go fastest, and at the end of the day, we are the fastest man on track. P1, our first pole position in Formula 1. It's only pole position for the sprint, but I'm counting that as pole position. So yeah, we're going to be on pole for the Austria sprint. this could be exciting. Let's see what this has got in store for us.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Davies lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Sainz, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Iwasa, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Gasly, Tsunoda, Joe, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Ocon, Sargent, Ocon. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
So here we go for the sprint race in Austria. We are starting from pole position for the sprint race. It is fully dry now though, so I'm not too sure how we're going to go in the dry conditions compared to the wet, but we get a good start. We're starting on the medium tyres. Most people are starting on the well, I say starting on the mediums. It's a sprint race. It's a no-stop race, and you can see we have got a blistering start here because everybody behind was kind of fighting. I think it was Lando Norris in the McLaren starting on the softs. He kind of got ahead of a bunch of people and has just caused everyone to kind of bunch up a bit and slow each other down, and we've got a great start to this race, a great lead of this sprint race. Can we lead, like legitimately lead, our first proper lap of this game? I mean, we might have led a lap. I think we did lead a lap or two in Spain, but you know, we're probably from the start leading this Grand Prix from qualifying. Perez is up to second actually. Russell started on the front row with me, but he's fallen down to fourth. Norris up in third there on the soft compound tyres. But yeah, some people have opted for the softs for this sprint. Most of us have gone on the mediums. Don't expect anybody to be pitting here. It's going to stay dry for the whole sprint, and you should be able to get to the end even on the softs. But you know, of course, softs probably better at the start of the race, but will fade towards the end of the race. A 12-lap sprint we've got here, so I went for the mediums just because that's what most other people seem to be doing. But Lando Norris on the soft compound tyres is showing good pace with those tyres, and with the McLaren being quite a bit better than it was at the start of the season. He's going for a move on Sergio Perez for P2 in this race round the outside of turn 3, as it's now a drag race down this straight. DRS might be enabled at the moment, I'm not 100% sure. The Red Bull though has much better pace down the straights than the McLaren, but Lando Norris is still going to hang on, and he's going to get a bit of a slingshot round the outside of the next corner, and he's going to be on the inside as they get through here. Nice helicopter shot here to see what's going on. They're still side by side, great battling. This is just helping me bridge this gap between the cars ahead, as it looks like Norris has just about managed to get the position, maybe not quite. Perez now coming back at him into the second to last corner here. Very tight stuff. Perez on the inside. It's too wide between, I believe that is, it's one of the Ferraris. I think it's Charles Leclerc and I think it was George Russell behind as well, as Lando Norris manages to get ahead. But now Charles Leclerc is going for the move on Norris here. He didn't have the greatest qualifying, down in like P4 or something, I think, but has had a good start to this race and is now right behind Lando Norris, and with DRS will make the move into the next corner, just about gets ahead of Norris, and that may let him now come after us in a bit of fresh air if he doesn't get too distracted by the cars behind him, as he won't, because now Lando Norris is coming under fire from Sergio Perez. The initial kind of oomph of the soft tyres working for Norris, but only 5 or so laps into this race already starting to come under fire from these quicker cars around him, as Norris defends to the inside. Perez tries going around the outside and might have done it because I think he's got DRS as well. Yes, he does. So he's got the DRS to pull away, and with that Red Bull powertrain he will blister on past, as now fairly quickly we've come under fire from Charles Leclerc in the last couple of laps here. He's going to try going around the outside. We're going to try and defend this though. Usually I wouldn't really try and put up much of a fight against these guys, but we're going to do it here because there's only like 3 laps to go, and this is the sprint race. We can win this race, as now Max Verstappen, who also had a bad qualifying, I think he qualified in like P9, didn't get a lap in on the intermediate, so had his lap time set on the wet compound tyres, is now side by side with Fernando Alonso. As they come up here, you've got Carlos Sainz having a go on Lando Norris. Alonso is actually now going for a move on George Russell, but doesn't quite get that stuck, and we'll have to wait to see if he can do anything about that later on. Onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, and we've just defended like crazy against Leclerc. He's definitely quicker than us here for sure, but it's only 12 laps, and I mean, it wasn't until about lap 8, lap 9 that he actually caught up to me after being in the big squabble behind us. So we are going to just try and keep him behind. He's really close behind us here. We've absolutely drained our battery into single digits here, but it doesn't matter. It's the last lap into the final corner. Leclerc is basically pushing us, and we're going to come through to win the Austrian sprint in F1 23. It is our first win on this game. It's not a full Grand Prix win, but it is the sprint. And that is amazing. From pole position to first in the sprint, awesome stuff. We were able to keep Leclerc behind. Definitely didn't quite have the pace of those guys, but yeah, it's a great result. Full points here, and to finally get our first win in this game. I say finally, it's only seven rounds in. We've got our first win. It is only a sprint though. It's not the main race. So let's see what we can do in the main race. It's going to be a lot more difficult to keep him behind in that one.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve. It was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Davies lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Russell, Sainz, Norris, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Verstappen, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Iwasa, Joe, Magnussen, Sargent, De Vries, Gasly, De Vries. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about Davies. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Alrighty, so here we go for the main race, the Austrian Grand Prix in F1 23. From pole position, it's lights out and away we go. We're starting on the soft compound tyres compared to Leclerc next to us on the mediums. Perez, though, behind us is on the softs as well, but it looks like Leclerc's managed to keep P2 into turn 1. We've managed to keep P1. Don't have quite the gap that we did in the sprint because not quite as much squabbling going on this time around, but we have kept it as we come down the main straight, or the side straight, I don't know what you want to call it, for the first time. But yeah, definitely a little bit closer this time with the cars behind, so I think it's going to be difficult. It's what, like 36 laps or something here? I can't quite read it in the top left, but 30 something laps here, so a lot more than 12 that we had to defend for in that previous sprint. So it's going to be difficult to keep the lead here, but we're going to try our damnedest as we continue on. As you can see, Leclerc really keeping with us here and on the medium tyres, so I think this just shows that on equal compound tyres, well, on not equal, when we've got supposedly the better compound of tyres, we just don't quite have the grip and the speed to be beating Charles Leclerc. Sorry, I was just looking at my window. I thought I heard something. As we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix there, as now Fernando Alonso is actually going for a move on lap number 2 on Lando Norris, but he hasn't quite got that done, and now Max Verstappen's going for the move on him as they head down into the chicane. Verstappen round the outside, Norris making a little bit of contact with Alonso as it's 3 wide briefly as they head around that turn 3. Did I say chicane before? It's not a chicane, it's more of a hairpin, I guess. It's not really even a hairpin, but around that corner. Verstappen, those made both positions up there, and Alonso now finds himself fighting with, is that Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes? I believe it is. Didn't really see a lot from him or anything really in the sprint, but now Hamilton and Alonso are side by side. Great racing with these two here, but yeah, Hamilton manages to get that position. As we continue on to lap number 5, and already we are seeing big pressure from Charles Leclerc, who goes round the outside into turn 1. We're not going to fight that too much because, well, I was hoping we'd pick up DRS, but unfortunately we didn't quite, we weren't quite in position to do that this time around, as behind us there's still this battle going on between Russell, between Sainz and Sergio Perez, as Perez tries to stick it up the inside of Sainz, bumps over the curb a little bit. Sainz, the car ahead at the moment, looking good for Ferrari, P1 and P3 at the moment, so a good start for Carlos Sainz. He has managed to get ahead of Perez. As we continue on with Leclerc up ahead, have a little look to the inside, but we're a little bit too far back there, because we are going to try and fight back on Leclerc, even though it's not looking great here. But we will still battle this one out as we get a good run out of turn 3 with DRS. We're going to try and go round the outside into the next corner. Leclerc dives his car back up the inside again, but we're just going to keep it round the outside and take P1 back once again. But this is going to be a race-long battle, or at least until the first set of pit stops, because once again, a couple of laps later, lap number 8, I'm going to make Leclerc go round the outside of turn 3, but he's got the grip in that car with the medium compound tyres, and these softs, I mean, they're still okay at the moment, but we just don't quite have the grip of the Ferrari. We're going to just about hang on to the position this time around though, but we're deploying quite a lot of battery to try and stay ahead of him, so I've got to be strategic here, because Sainz is also now right behind us as well. And then you've got Russell a bit further back from him, as now Leclerc goes up the inside this time into turn 3. We have managed to pick up the DRS though for the next DRS zone here, so we're going to grab the DRS and try and maybe get back past him into what I guess is turn 4. We're going to have a look up the inside, but we're not going to be able to quite go for it. Not quite close enough, so now we've just got to continue on, and we've now got Carlos Sainz, who I believe is on the soft compound tyres, behind us. Now the two Red Bulls battling it out, because Perez started to fall back a little bit on those soft tyres, and Verstappen made a beautiful little move into the second to last corner there on his teammate, so that is good. We make Leclerc go rather defensive into this next corner. We actually make a little bit of contact with him as he gets a bit crossed up through turn 3, and now with the DRS we're going to try and power past again. He squeezes us to the inside, but we've got the DRS, we've got good engine power. Ferrari I think are the second best on engine power. We are the best, so yeah, we do manage to just about get past him, but once again he's going to just blitz straight back past us again, up into turn 3, and there's just not really a lot we can do about that. He just has the better grip, and on these straights here with DRS he can just get past us rather easily, so there's not a whole lot I can do. I've just kind of got to continue just trying really, and with all this happening the cars behind are catching up as we go for a bit of a send into turn 3. Oh, we kind of mucked that one up. Sainz is actually almost looking around our outside there. I'm going to check for damage. Thankfully we didn't pick any up there. It was like right on the edge of the nose, but that has cost us time here, and that means we've just about fallen. I think we have fallen out of DRS from Charles Leclerc. And now, as I think Carlos Sainz came into the pits, we now have George Russell around our outside, so there's not really much I can do here. We just about managed to stay ahead of him, but he's going to come back again and try and go round the outside of turn 4 now, and these soft tyres are starting to feel pretty used by this point. We're going to try and fight him though. As we head round here we get the better run, and it's going to be 2 by 2 round the outside for us, but we just don't have the grip on these soft compound tyres, unfortunately. We actually left it out a couple of laps later than expected. I think Sainz came in when we were supposed to come in, but I decided I wanted to see if maybe we could do a soft to medium one stop, but unfortunately the tyre wear wasn't quite there, and in the end I just had to come in for the hard compound tyres, really just to kind of combat Sainz really, because yeah, otherwise it probably wasn't going to work out from the soft to mediums, and we'd end up being overtaken by a few cars. This way we only just get out of the pits ahead of Carlos Sainz. He's got a few other slower cars behind him who haven't come into the pits yet. So it's me and Sainz on the hard tyres. I'm not sure what the other top guys are doing, because, well, at least the ones that started on the mediums, as now into turn 1, Sainz gets the move on us round the outside, and we're a little bit far back to pick up, well, we do get DRS, but to really have any effect with it, as now Verstappen comes out of the pits only just behind us. We just get past him as we head into turn 3, and now we've got a pretty big train. Leclerc is just out of DRS range of Russell, but then you've got Russell, Sainz, myself, and Verstappen right behind me, and he is showing supreme pace in that Red Bull. Hasn't been the luckiest lately, only been on the podium a couple of times, had the DNF in Baku, so he's looking to get his championship fight back in order. I think he sits P3 at the moment, and he actually gets past us into turn 1, but we're going to try and come back at Verstappen, because why the hell not? We're fighting at the front, we might as well go toe-to-toe with Max himself as we shove him off the road a little bit. It's fair racing, but we just get the elbows out and get the position on Max up back into P4, I believe that is. But the supreme pace of the Red Bull in a straight line and in the corners on, you know, the same tyres as us is just not going to really work for us, as there's yellow flags behind us. Not 100% sure what that's for, but we pick back up the DRS from Verstappen, but we're not going to quite be able to get up to him into the next corner, as it looks like Sergio Perez is out of the race, so that has at least got rid of one of the Red Bulls for us. There he is, parked up on the left, so that's one less Red Bull we have to worry about. The other Red Bull is right ahead of us, and we're going to have a late dive into turn 4 here. A little bit of tyre banging, but we just about managed to keep it there. Sneak up the inside of Verstappen. This battle is still going on. The two Ferraris and Russell have kind of edged away from us a little bit, but this battle with Verstappen will continue on, as now we have my teammate who's actually making pretty good progress. Started P16 thanks to that grid penalty for blocking me in qualifying, but he's making progress through the field and is actually now battling with one of the Haas's and one of the Alpines as well, as he gets past the Haas and is now having a battle with the Alpine of, I believe, Esteban Ocon. Yes, it is, because he doesn't have the yellow on top there. I don't believe he does anyway. And he gets that move done as well. So Iwasa showing a bit more pace here, despite the issue in qualifying with him blocking me. We kind of managed to actually catch back up to Sainz again, and we're actually having a look into turn 3 at a move around the outside of the Ferrari driver to get back on the podium here. I was starting to think that maybe the podium was a foregone conclusion, but Sainz has kind of slowed up a little bit here. We've managed to get back past him, but he might want to come back again. We kind of park our car right in the middle of the road, but Verstappen absolutely dives up the inside of turn 4 and gets the position from us. That was a little bit dirty there. It was an absolutely last second dive bomb from Max. I think that was a little bit rude, to be honest. So we're going to just hook up behind him here, but then he locks up into turn 4 and we sweep our car up the inside and get the position back, so that serves him right. I think he'll be coming back at us again, and sure enough, only a couple of laps later, we're getting to the business end of this race now. Verstappen is back up the inside into turn 3, but we're going to hook up behind once again and pick up the DRS to try and get a run on him down to turn 4 once again. Maybe he'll lock up, maybe we'll go for a big old dive bomb on him, who knows. But I actually spent a couple of laps stuck behind him here, and as we head on to what I believe is the final lap of this race, or at least the second to last lap, I'm not 100% sure, we are right behind Max at this point in time. Not quite close enough for a move into turn 3, but that doesn't matter. Get a good run out of turn 3. And with the DRS and deploying as much battery as I can, we're going to try and go for a move into turn 4, and we get a good run, and we're going to do just like he did. We're going to go for a last minute dive into turn 4, do not quite make contact, so it is actually a clean move, unlike the move he did on us, and we're back up into P3, and we're going to try now and bring this one home. Verstappen, though, is very quick on those hard tyres. We don't really have any battery left, and the AI absolutely deplete their battery in the final lap, so we've just got to do as much as we can, put our car in the middle of the road. He's going to have a look to the outside into the second to last corner, but he can't quite do anything there. Round the final corner, he is pushing us round this final corner. Deploy the ERS, he tries to get us, but in the end we're going to come through for P3 for the Austrian Grand Prix. We won the sprint, it's a podium in the main race. that is a bloody good weekend. Our car was really good here. Iwasa gets driver of the day because he picks up a bunch of positions. It was a pretty good one, this.
That's it then for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Austria. And a truly magnificent drive to hang on and take the win. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So Charles Leclerc gets his 3rd win of the season. He's now the first driver to get to 3 wins. You've now got Leclerc on 3, Russell on 2, and Verstappen on 2, not counting sprints. If you want to count sprints, well, I've got 1, and Leclerc's got 1 from Baku. But yeah, it is Leclerc on top this time around. George Russell comes home in P2, so he's keeping his championship hopes alive, currently in the lead of the championship. And then we have that P3 finish, so it's technically back-to-back podiums when we've finished the race. So pretty damn good. Iwasa manages to get to P11, so he gets back up to P11 again, only a couple of seconds behind Bottas in P10. So if he didn't get that penalty, could have seen Iwasa in the points there. So that's unfortunate, but hey, he did block me, so he deserves that penalty. We are now P7 in the championship. Still, Russell still leads, but only a couple of points now ahead of Charles Leclerc in 2nd and Verstappen in 3rd. Perez drops a little bit further back because of that DNF. And yeah, that is that. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, we do have the Constructors' Championship, sorry. Ferrari still at the front there, or maybe they weren't before, I'm not sure, but it's very close between them. Mercedes in 2nd now and Red Bull in 3rd. So I think for us, we are battling for P4 in the Constructors. That is pretty much where we are. It's going to be a bit too much of a gap to get into that top 3. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.